Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablan.
Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to episode 70 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This episode of the QCMP is sponsored by Midwood Guitar Studio, Charlotte, North Carolina's own boutique guitar shop located in Plaza Midwood. Midwood Guitar Studio not only has the finest selection in boutique guitars, but familiar names like Fender, Martin, Taylor, Two Rock, and many others. Whether it's a guitar, bass, amp, effects pedal, or a much-needed accessory, the knowledgeable and friendly staff at Midwood Guitar Studio will help guide you in the right direction for your next purchase. And Midwood Guitar Studio has a luthier on staff for all your repair needs. Happy New Year once again, everyone, and I hope your 2024 is off to a great start. If you've been listening to the QCMP, I want to thank you for continuing to do so. And if you're a new listener, welcome. The podcast turns 70 with this episode, and we're heading into our 8th year talking about the local music scene here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm proud to say we've talked to musicians, businesses, and artisans from all over the city. Looking at the year ahead, we've got some wonderful guests coming to talk and share their stories. This month, to start off 2024, I'm speaking with the king of 7 strings, Vadim Kolpakov. Vadim is one of the most prominent and renowned Gypsy 7-string guitarists in the world. He's also a vocalist, dancer, and a composer. He specializes in Gypsy music from Europe with the fusion of jazz, pop, flamenco, Latin, and other world music. Vadim Kolpakov, welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me.
So, Vadim, are you originally from the Charlotte area?
Well, as you can hear my accent, maybe. Not really. But my second hometown, I would say, Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah, so I come from Moscow, Russia originally, and I moved in 2004 to United States. First to Boston, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And then in 2006, moved to Charlotte, and since then I've been here.
What brought you to Charlotte?
Well, I was an artist in residence at the UNC Charlotte for a couple of years.
Fantastic.
So I was, teaching a little bit, and I met my wife here, and my son was born here, so we just decided to stay in Charlotte. We loved it.
Okay. As an artist in residence, were you teaching guitar? Were you teaching your specific style? What were you doing?
Well, my background, is culture of Roma gypsies, right?
Yes.
The gypsy music. So that, includes like singing, music,
right,
playing, guitar, and dancing.
Okay.
So I've done that all in the famous Roman Theater, the Gypsy Theater in Moscow. And so I was performing, dancing, singing, and playing guitar. Yeah. And, that's what I was trying to teach Americans here in UNC Charlotte for a couple of years. I was an artist in residence, so I put a couple of shows, big shows, at the university, at the theater there. And yeah.
Okay. But so I want to dip into your music background a bit. Mm-hmm. So you are you're more specific than anything else, really. You do gypsy music. Right. So is that your background? Is your family, does it have a gypsy background? Did you grow up in that culture? How does that work?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I don't know if, many people know, but we prefer to call our nation Roma or Romani people. Okay. And if we talk about music, we can call the gypsy music.
Right.
But yes, so this is my background. So I come from the family of artists, musicians. So my uncle, Alexander Kolpakov, is one of the greatest guitar players and composer and songwriter of, gypsy style in Russia. So he was my teacher, and we are 3 generations at least of guitar players. So my nephew is also a professional guitar player, Sasha Kolpakov, and he lives in Miami now. Okay. And my uncle is in Moscow, so we kind of, try to keep this tradition alive.
That's fantastic. All right, so jumping into the Roma culture, is it specific to a certain area of Russia?
Well, I would say, I come from Moscow, so I grew up in Moscow.
Yes.
But, Romani music or gypsy music is all over the world, right? So it's got a different culture influence. For example, as you know, and maybe probably most of the people know as flamenco music.
Yes.
Which is music of gitanos from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And, like gypsy jazz for Django Reinhardt,
Yes.
so this is like gypsy music from France. And we have Russian gypsy music, what we call, and there's a Balkan gypsy music. So there's certain styles, of gypsy music around the world. And they are kind of different, but they have similarity, of course, and the same roots that coming from India.
Okay.
Originally, so since so many people came from India 1,000 years ago, so they spread all over the world and created those styles of music where they came to to the specific countries. And so I specialize in Russian gypsy music, and I play on the 7-string guitar, what we call it as a gypsy guitar or Russian guitar. Sometimes it has a couple of centuries history of it, and it's open G tuning.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different instrument.
So the 7-string instrument is specific to
Russia, yeah, I would say, and Brazil too.
Really?
Brazil and Argentina also. So they play the 7-string guitars, but different tuning than what we play in Russia.
Interesting. Because when I used to study classical guitar.
Yeah.
And I knew 8-string and 10-string
Right,
guitars
right.
And multiple strings. But I was unaware that there was a certain specific.
Yeah, it's got its
string
own
that
history. It's got a lot of repertoire. Was written, for a couple of centuries, since 1790s. I would say, like end of 18th century.
Right. Just out of curiosity, have you ever heard something called a grand guitar? One of my professors, when I studied in grad school, he started playing a Russian grand guitar.
Guitar. Maybe it's like harp guitar kind of thing.
It's like a 6-string guitar.
Yeah.
But it's actually got 12 strings. So like there's 2 layers of strings. One is a nylon string, and then there's steel strings below it.
Oh,
so
wow.
you would go to pluck it. And from what I understood, it was a Russian style instrument.
Oh wow! I never heard about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find some research.
Harp
I'll send you
guitars, it's like double neck guitars, right?
Yes.
So there is a tradition of Russian guitars, which are the like double neck guitars, harp guitars. But I never heard about the one that you talking about.
Now I'm gonna have to find some stuff.
Yeah.
I'll send you the information.
Sure.
You'll be like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I would love to check it out.
So tell me about this 7-string guitar. It's tuned in G. So when you say it's a G tuning, what does that mean?
It's open G, so it's D, B, G, D, B, G, D.
From lowest to highest?
Top string, yeah,
Okay.
the lowest to highest. So it's basically octave of a D, B, G.
Okay, so are there specific keys that you're going to play in when you're doing Romani music?
Not really. So I can play in any key.
Right. No, I just mean because sometimes when you do a certain tuning, like I know blues guitar players, if they use a G tuning for slide or D, you're playing in that key specifically.
Yeah, maybe like G or B would be the best key.
Yeah.
Or also D is good key for our tuning.
Okay. And how does the 7-string tradition differ from using a 6-string guitar? Or do you not know just because it's this is the culture you grew up in?
Well, I also love the 6-string guitar, classical guitar, of course, and flamenco, Spanish guitar, what we call, right? Well, it's got different positioning, like when you play, so it's all completely different chords and all this, the what do you call it, like the positioning of the chords, right? So it's all different tuning, so it's completely kind of different instrument, but it's also the same because it's a classical instrument,
right?
So it has kind of same nylon strings, same neck and body, And
the 7-string is the lower string. The
right. Yeah, it's a D.
And when you're doing it, are you usually using it as an open string, meaning you're not putting any fingers down on it?
No, I do. I do, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's depends what you play. You can play bass lines and all that.
All right. Now, primarily you are playing the 7-string guitar.
Right.
It's always been nylon? Has it ever been a steel string? How does that work?
There is a steel string 7-string Russian guitars. Most of them are like antique instruments, like 100 years old or whatever. But I play nylon string all my life.
Yeah.
So that's what I prefer. and I love modern instruments.
Now, when you're playing with the 7-string guitar, I don't run into them at the guitar shops. So, is there somebody that you go to who custom builds you the guitars? Is there specific makers back in Russia that you deal with to send you guitars when you need them?
Well, of course, as a musician, you understand that we have a lot of guitars, right?
Yes, of course.
I have many instruments, some of them custom made, some of them Cremona company that I represent as an artist, and this guitar I brought to you today, it's by Cremona. So I have kind of my line of guitar right now, of the Cremona company. So they are based in Bulgaria, a wonderful company, great instruments. They make like 6-string guitars, steel string guitars,
right,
nylon string guitars, cutaway guitars. So we ended up, to make one with the owner of the Cremona guitar, Nick Iliev, his name, and now he's out of this business. He in different he sells K&A pickups.
Sure.
But Cremona guitars, they still exist, and they kind of big now in all over the world. So they sell in the United States and all over. But we came up with this instrument, which is cutaway, as you can see, and has a nice pickup in it. Just kind of good instrument to play concerts and gigs, everywhere. So I've been playing all over with this instrument.
Is there a large community of people playing 7-string guitars or Romani music?
No, unfortunately. Well, now kind of, people get back to it, but for last, I would say 50, 60 years maybe,
right.
It's got kind of lost, in the Western music, tradition in Russia. So
yes,
it's been a lot of, influence in Russia since like 60s.
Yes.
When Beatles came, and everything.
Rock and roll, thank you.
Yeah, everything changed. So people forgot their own traditions. So
right,
there's actually... as my colleague, Dr. Oleg Timofeyev, he's my partner in music, and I brought you a CD, latest CD we recorded. Yeah, so he said that I am the last one who is keeping that tradition of gypsy music on 7-string guitar in the world now. Yeah, so it's kind of sad. So, but we have some young generation that is trying to get back to it and playing this kind of instrument, Russian music, and some of them, play gypsy music too, but it's not many,
right,
many people.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of cultures, I mean, not even Russian culture, even American culture, we have start pushing back our traditional musics, and whatever's current is what we listen to. And people are just, oh no, I can't listen to that old style anymore. I can only listen to this.
Unfortunately, some people don't understand the value of that.
Yeah. You're playing nylon string. Are you primarily using your fingers at all? Do you play with a pick, or is it just fingers?
I can play the pick, but I play finger style pretty much everything.
Okay.
Yeah. I play not only gypsy music, Matt. So I play all kind of stuff because I, grew up on fusion style myself.
Wow. Okay.
So like Paco de Lucia, John McLaughlin, El Di Meola, all of these greatest guitar players.
What was it? One night in San Francisco?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So when I was a teenager, a kid, I was listening. My dad has a vinyl, from that old time. And I was listening to it and kind of get influence, all my life from this top musicians, So, and I kind of created my own style of 7-string guitar playing, specifically on this tuning. So I have kind of, developed my own now, of the influence of many, great guitar players.
Are you doing any, do you play electric at all?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I can play a little jazz guitar, 7-string, and I had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know who primarily play like nylon string classical guitar players or flamenco players, they pretty much just dabble in electric guitar.
Yeah.
They don't even mess with it because they're so used to what they do on their own instrument.
That's probably one, me.
Are you really crazy about your nails like most classical guitar players? Because I mean, even to this day, I'm not a classical guitar player anymore, but I still keep up and play and do finger style.
Yeah.
So I'm always filing down and using some sandpaper and things like that.
Definitely. So I go to salon, like nail salon always. So go to this, Asian salons, and I put like hard gel,
like acrylic.
Yeah, acrylic, so it doesn't, break, because my, attack when I play, it's kind of, powerful. So if I don't do it, the nails will be just, broken.
Wow. And you don't need that. Because that'll ruin your whole day. There's been many a classical guitar player I know, they're going to play a concert and they're like, I busted a nail, which sounds crazy. Most people wouldn't even worry about it. But when you make your living with your fingers, it's kind of important, And it's interesting. I was at a wedding recently last year, and so I started talking to somebody, and she just looks at me and she goes, "So you're a guitar player, huh?" And I said, "How do you know?" She goes, "I'm looking at your fingernails.
Right.
One hand's short, one hand's long, It's always a topic of conversation when you run into instrumentalists. All right, so tell me about some of the projects that you do. You've got so much stuff revolving around Romany music that it's hard to keep track of. I went to your website and you've got this, you've got the duo with your nephew.
Yes.
You've got the troupe that goes along, that goes out. Yeah. Fill me in. Let's just go down the list.
Okay. Well, some of them are on the website. Some of them are not even there.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So, the one that kind of been main projects of mine for years, that I've been living in the States.
Yes.
Was Zingereska. That project was developed in 2004 with my colleague, Dr. Oleg Timofeyev, that I just mentioned to you earlier, who is the second person that plays Russian 7-string guitar in the States.
Okay.
And he is a music teacher, musicologist. He graduated at the Duke University back in the 90s,
Gotcha.
Got his PhD. But, and he is actually first person who wrote the dissertation about Russian 7-string guitar in the West.
Wow.
So, but we kind of worked together since 2002. We had one project of two groups. It was kind of crossover project. So he's a classical musician, and he has back in 2000s the ensemble of early music, like classical music. He has a trio, and me and my uncle, we had our own trio of the traditional, gypsy music and, our music, what we do. So we had this collaboration project, and it started in Moscow in early 2000s. And we, came up with the idea to record CD and have, make a tour in the States. So we performed mostly at the universities, like Harvard University, BU universities, places like that, with kind of demo lecture concert.
Kind of like almost an ethnomusicology program?
Yeah, program, right. So it was a concert with the lectures and all that. So it was a good project, and we released CD on the Naxos label back then.
So how many people were involved in the
like
Zingereska
6
ensemble?
people, yes. So
it was...
on Zingereska ensemble.
Yeah.
It's just a duo.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm confusing.
I'm sorry. So, so I was talking about how it started, because we had one project of Kolpakov trio, with my uncle.
Yes.
And his band Talisman. And then we just, came up with the duo, me and Oleg.
Okay, so
I moved down.
Let me backtrack a little bit. The group that you put together that went around to different universities and performed, what was that group called?
Well, that was a Kolpakov trio and Talisman, that his Oleg's group.
Okay.
So it was crossover with two groups together.
Okay. So then there was the 6 people.
Yeah.
And it was just primary instrumental, or did you include
dance
in
it was
that?
singing, dancing, everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was an interesting project. And then we just came up when I moved to United States with the duo, like a guitar duo, specific music, that we do with Oleg. So, and then we started just playing together, recording CDs, and it's been for a while now, so more almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the projects that I have.
That's one.
And this project became a trio now. So it's with the Professor Anton Belov. He's an opera singer, and he has a career in the United States, for many years as a classical singer. And so we just, got him into the band and, added songs basically, music, with lyrics and everything, and just perform now and everywhere. So travel, sometimes in the United States.
Okay.
So we live in different places, though. Like Anton lives in Oregon. I live here in Charlotte, and Oleg lives in Iowa. So it's
Are you primarily playing at universities?
Yeah, it's mostly well, it depends, but we play also shows, like regular concerts,
Yeah.
and most of it like universities, residencies, for
Right.
a couple of days we go, one place, another place, so just like that.
That's fantastic.
Trying to, kind of educate people at the same time
Sure.
about this culture, music, and all that.
I think it's really important to open people up to the different cultures of music and get
Yeah.
involved. I know just playing guitar in general, it opened up a whole world for me just of understanding music from different cultures because, of course, I started as a rock guitar player, but then
Yeah.
I got into blues and I got into jazz. I studied classical. I
Right.
got into flamenco music
Yeah.
for a number of years.
Yeah.
It's just so much stuff that you start learning about that you get into.
Yeah.
To get into a style of just, at first the guitar is like the gateway drug. I'm going to play
Yeah.
guitar. And then you're like, oh, you start going down this rabbit hole of how do I do this and how do I do this? And,
Right.
I got to learn about the culture. And this is how this is influences.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
interesting.
It's a big world of guitar music.
But it's beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah.
Now, the tradition of Romani music,
Mm-hmm.
is any of it written down?
It's very interesting because Romani people were never writing down music.
Right.
So it was oral tradition, basically, generation to generation through the whole, like centuries that they moved, out of India
Right.
in 10th century. And the same thing with the language.
Right.
So the language survived. I'm just, always surprised how it's, survived
Sure.
for many centuries, passing generation just by oral tradition. But now, of course, there are books, there are, like language books and, some of the written music,
Yeah.
people trying to kind of record that, and actually, as a matter of fact, we're gonna release book and video methods.
Oh, that's
It's
fantastic.
gonna be my first, video school and for guitar, and also the book will come up next year probably, or
Are you doing that all on your own, or
with Oleg? We're doing with Oleg. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Because I know there's
two of
like
us.
companies online that do lessons for like artist works and things like that. And you
Right.
can get you can go study with somebody world famous teachers and
Right.
do video lessons and things like that.
So we're trying to finish that project and release it soon. So it's gonna be fun.
So I'm curious about the tradition of Romani music. So let's say you take a simple melody.
Right.
How does the song work? Is it like jazz in that sense where you have a melody and there's improvisation and then you come back to the melody, or is it a straight through song that you just play?
Well,
is it
if you-
both?
it's both, but it depends, of course, what
Yeah.
kind of songs you play. If it's vocal songs, so
Yeah.
you just accompany and play melody, and I'll also improvise. But it's for instrumental music, it's kind of like a jazz, so jazz standard. So if you have a certain folk melody, you write variations like how we do,
Yeah.
So it becomes like big instrumental piece, or improvisation to it.
Right.
So it could be just like in flamenco, for example, right? So we got a tune, and we can just improvise on it, right?
Yeah.
Or in jazz standard, like you got a tune and then you can just improvise. So that's how it works usually, in traditional music, I would say.
Wow. Okay. You brought your guitar. I don't know how great we'll get the sound in. You want to give us a little sample?
I can show the tuning.
It's an SM58. It won't be too bad.
All good. So this is my Cremona guitar, we just talked about. So that's, the tuning. DBG, DBGD.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Yeah, something like that. That's how it sounds.
I'm just curious. So, can you give us just while we're listening and when you've got the guitar out, can you give us a sample of the melody and then say, all right, so this would be the melody, and then we would go into like a little variation or improvisation?
Right. Well, for example, like the most famous tune that was written by many, many, many artists, of the Russian Gypsy culture is called Vengerka. It's also known in the West as two guitars.
Okay.
It's actually a song, it's an instrumental piece, and it's a dance. So it goes like this.
Lovely,
That's
lovely.
just a sample, short kind of,
Yeah.
variation, how that sound. And in Russian Gypsy tradition, it probably comes from the Russian folk tradition, that the tempo in the songs is most of the time increasing.
Yeah.
As you could hear, in that specific song.
Yeah.
So most of the songs, like if it's kind of happy dance song,
Yeah.
it's always increases.
Wow.
Gradually, kind of.
Well, it's fantastic, man. It sounds lovely. It just
Thank you.
reminds me of just a lot of classical guitar where there's just so much going on in the music that your hands have to move. So,
Thank you.
all right, cool, man. Cool, great playing.
Thank you.
So you've been recording a lot, and am I correct? You have like 13 albums to your credit?
At least.
Wow. When did you start recording?
Well, I don't even remember, Matt, when I started, but maybe when I was like, about 17 years old. So I was starting, playing, recording music with my uncle.
Yes.
And he, involved me like, in different kind of projects with different, artists, great artists of that tradition.
Yeah.
From the Roman theater that, I worked at. And so then, we just started recording our own music, with my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Before, the beginning, I basically started as a accompanist,
Okay.
playing for someone, singers, and all that, legendary, musicians, artists, and then we started to record our own music with my uncle, and then I had, some band that I was working with. It was called GLM in Moscow, and the band also from the famous artistic dynasty.
Okay.
Of Romani musicians, Erdenko. It's one of the well-known kind of Roma Gypsy, musicians, and then just kind of different projects, was coming up, and then in the United States, I was recording with Oleg, with that project Zingereska. Then my own band that I created here in the States. Was called Via Roman, and we had released, a couple of albums.
Is that original music, or is that
It's
Romani music?
some of it original music, some of it traditional music that we kind of recreated, like did some more arrangements to it,
Okay.
like our own kind of way or variations on it. And then I had recording with my nephew,
Okay.
Sasha, the VS guitar duo, Vadim and Sasha. So we had one CD released. It's kind of covers on famous songs of different regions, but our own arrangements of every song.
Since you are one of the names in Romani music, I mean, in the world, keeping this style alive, have you thought about, or are you trying to maybe record as much of the repertoire as possible so that you actually have a living document of it?
Yeah, well, I started, like composing, doing original music too. And of course, I'm always, having deal with, traditional music.
Right.
But,
Sure.
I need to kind of
Do your own thing.
to
Yes.
to apply, my knowledge and my, playing to the traditional music and kind of keep it alive, as you say.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to do still.
Sure. Well, because I know
music.
there's people who just their life dream per se.
Yeah.
I'm going to record all the Mozart sonatas. This is I want to have a document of this music, and that's it's just all mine.
Right. Well, I didn't have this kind of idea, but whatever will happen in the future. But
Yeah.
we'll try to keep recording great music of that culture.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that's just a wonderful thing to have, particularly from an oral tradition of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are the guy who says, okay, I'm going to get this all recorded so
Yeah.
that people can, listen to it and have a document
History,
of
yeah.
this music.
Yeah, live a history of
You know,
that. Yeah, yeah.
so that if something ever happens, and
Yeah, we have it.
the
Some
cultures
people
can go back.
Yeah, right. So people in the future generations can get back to it and listen to it.
And I can tell you, geez, if you said you have your book coming out with music and
Yeah.
stuff, there's probably a ton of classical guitar players who will be jumping all over that.
I hope,
mean,
I hope they will discover something new.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, just for the style.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up their alley. It's something different, and particularly, it might even be challenging if they're able to throw in some improvisation into it.
Yeah,
it'll be a little more demanding for them that they can do that kind of thing too.
Definitely.
I'm real curious. You have performed with the pop icon Madonna.
Yes.
How did that even come about?
Well,
From a guy who grew up in Moscow,
yeah, Yeah. Well, this question always comes up, in my interviews. But I will tell you the story. So basically, we had a friend in common with Madonna. The famous band. It's kind of punk rock gypsy band. What they call it, Gogol Bordello.
Okay.
And they've been specifically Eugene Hotz, who is the leader of the band. He was like used to be actor. I think he is actor still, but he's acting in some movies probably, but I don't follow. But he was like was involved as an actor in her debut movie that she created. It's called Filth and Wisdom.
Okay.
So, and then she was looking for music, I think, for the film, for her movie. So here he presented our music, the Kolpakov Trio, my uncle's music, basically.
Gotcha.
CD, and so she listened to it. I think she liked that, and she got some music to her movie from that album.
Great.
Yeah, and then in 2007, she has a birthday. And so she invited us to her birthday, to London. And I was already living here in the States, and my uncle was in Russia. So we came to London to visit her, for her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she was married by at that time to Guy Ritchie,
film director. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, he's great.
So sorry, Madonna. I'm more of a Guy Ritchie fan than a Madonna fan, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's great. And we just went, to see her and kind of celebrate her birthday and, present our music. So we were playing there. It was like kind of close, friend's birthday celebration. So, and then I think she liked that, and then invited us to the tour the next year that she was, working on. And, we just were surprised, first of all, to, be invited to her birthday.
Yeah.
And then, to tour with her. That was like magic.
Right.
And I never thought that, that how traditional music, what we do, or original music that we do, can be combined with the pop style that she does.
Right.
I was like, how that gonna work, But she's great, director and, artist. And she has, a lot of ideas how to make it great,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then we just, went to New York, with the trio. With my uncle, Alexander Kolpakov, and our violin player, Arkady Gypsy. He lives in Columbus, Ohio. So two of us, came from United States, and my uncle from Moscow. And so we just started rehearsing. Mm-hmm. For the tour. It was like a few months of rehearsals, like 3 months in New York. We just stayed in Manhattan, for 3 months. Every day, like 10 hours,
Oh, man.
Rehearsals, So because the tour was like for 2 years. 1 year and then break and then another, half a year. So, and and we just, went to play all over the world on stadiums, like, 100,000 people, 50,000 people, it was like amazing. I mean, at the beginning, I was like, shocked. like, so many people, on stage and, band and all this sound, it's all different because it's stadiums, so, and then you just used to it. After 1 week or two, you just,
Do you get used to it?
Oh, yes, I did.
Walking out in front of all those people?
Oh, yeah, I was like, comfortable. After you just feel free, and get this whole energy out of yourself, to the people there.
Yeah.
And you get back and forth, that amazing experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any scary moments on stage when you have a memory lapse of a piece, or like, where am I supposed to step at this point? Oh my gosh, I just messed up the whole routine.
Yeah, no, well, I guess I never did.
Oh,
For 80,
that's a good thing.
80 shows or more. Yeah, in different countries, different stadiums, different cities. I never did the mistake, I think.
Wow.
But after you practice for also a couple of months,
sure,
you kind of get it automatically then.
Yeah.
So you have to do it perfect. But it was a scary moment when I had some problem with my knee, and as a dancer, so I had to dance in this show a little bit too.
Okay.
It's all on the DVD that came out, by the way. Madonna's Sticky and Sweet tour. It's on YouTube and everywhere. So, but I had a little problem, and so they had doctors and everything with us. And I was like, how am I going to do it? Because nobody substitute me in the style that I do, And it stopped dancing, gypsy style. So I had to teach a little bit one of the dancers, that she has. There were like 15 dancers from all over the world. And one of the dancers, Jason Young, he was like, doing some tap dancing and American style.
Yeah.
So it was similar a little bit, So I was, showing him the steps that in case if I was, I would not be able to do it, so he could. But I survived, so I had never missed any show, I think.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've just... Man, at that level, there's just so much that could go wrong. But you're there, so it's all right.
Yeah.
But there's just so much that can go on. I hear things about you're performing and you can see something happening in the audience, and people get distracted. You're on stage, you happen to get distracted by something that happens in the audience.
So there's so many things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We had some cancellations of the shows because somebody died from the crew, like those stage people. So we had so many things going on, but we tried to make it as best as you can.
And now you're back in Charlotte.
Oh yeah. Well, I lived here already, when we toured. So my son was just born. Yeah. And my family was like kind of, oh man, you gotta, like go for like 6 months on tour, so you out, of town.
So if you don't mind me asking, what is that like coming mentally down from that? Because you're going on these big stadium tours with this large artist, but then you're not the main artist they're coming to see. You are part of the supporting, musicians.
You're right.
How does that feel when you come back and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that for the next 50 years? You know what I mean? How does that feel?
Well, it feels, kind of sad, I would say, because of the, large stadiums that you play.
Sure.
It's a different experience and different feel in playing, in front of 100,000 people. And then you play for a smaller, audience. But for me, I was always playing with my heart and with my soul.
Sure.
Any show, just 50 people audience or 50,000 people.
Yeah.
So for me, it was never, matter. I was trying to do my best for everyone, for a small audience, for a big audience. But it was different, different change kind of, to mentally, as you said, it was like kind of difficult to accept that it's, not there anymore. But I was doing my own music, my own recordings. So I was focusing on that.
I almost imagine sometimes, though, it's the reverse. So, for example, as the musician, you like being on stage in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because you are getting to perform, you're getting to emote, you're getting to connect with 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100, whatever, tons of people.
Yes.
For me, as an audience member, some of the shows I have loved the most have been where I am closer to the artist.
Absolutely.
And for example, I was at a blues rock show last night, and I had my feet up on the stage, and I was watching this band play, and they were spectacular. Or I've seen classical guitarists, 15 feet from me, and I'm just like watching it, and I'm memorized by it. Yeah. And it's just funny to me how that, it's a role reversal, because I don't know if everybody I don't personally care for going to a stadium show, because I don't want to pay $500 to sit far away and watch a video screen. I'd rather be close to the artist and watch what they're doing.
I agree with you. And I like to play for small audience.
Yeah.
It's a lot of patience from people, attention.
Yeah.
like to what you do, and you have that connection close,
Yeah.
So, and I think for audience, it's even, better, as you say, to be close to performance.
I'd even imagine with the style of music that you do, especially if you do solo shows, it's a lot better to be more intimate, where people can just sit around and just watch and be mesmerized at that, like how your fingers are moving.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's great to play just for small audience, but I also like, bigger ones like like
stadiums. So who wouldn't want to play if you can?
Yeah,
right?
stadiums. Yeah, that's cool. And then theaters.
Yeah.
So I played like all kind of venues in my life, from restaurants to stadiums.
Well, that's being a musician, though. I mean, being a musician, you just never know what's going to come up, and you are probably one of the most extremely fortunate musicians who's actually gone from a super small venue to being able to see like this world that is a pop icon lives in, that they do it on a regular basis. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I played on like, famous stages before, like theater type of stages. And I grew up in the theater, one of the famous theaters in Russia. But it's a different experience, of course. It's a different feel than stadium,
So we're talking about it. Is there any specific stage that you love playing more? I won't say concert, but is there a specific place that you've been to several times that you really love going back there?
Oh, well, man, there was so many. Like Carnegie Hall, I played there. I loved that. It's just a historic, place that, you feel when you play the show there. What else? Of course, Madison Square Garden in New York. That we, played with Madonna, actually, a few shows. Theaters, my theater that I grew up at, the Roman Theater.
Yeah.
That I played every day pretty much. I miss that too. And, some small venues.
Right.
Charlotte, of course, Blumenthal, I love that too. There's some stages that I like to play.
See, the more I do this podcast, I meet so many interesting musicians from all over the place. And it's so interesting to me, just like, not really sure everybody really understands like what a great, deep community of musicians we have here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
We're so disjointed, everybody seems to get into their little cliques, or everybody's busy.
Right.
I think I bumped into you at one of your gigs at one point.
Yeah.
And it was very funny because I was there on a date at the time.
Yeah.
And I saw you and I was like, I know you. And you're like, how do I know you? And I'm like, we're friends on Facebook because we're musicians, but I never got out the chance to see you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
And then talking, and it's like, oh my goodness, it's just, and that's not the first time that's happened to me. I see somebody and I'm like, I know you. And they're like, wait, I know you. How do we know each other?
Right. We all musicians somehow
Yeah.
know each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's a great community of musicians here in Charlotte.
Oh yeah. It's growing, you know, since a lot of people moved down to Charlotte, you know, from New York, California, whatever.
I got a question for you, though. Having done the stuff with Madonna and getting it, combining the ethnic and the pop music, have you done anything else with any other artists that you, maybe not at that level that she does it, but maybe to combine the ethnic and popular music together?
Yeah, with Gogol Bordello, the band, you know.
Okay.
Punk rock kind of thing.
Really?
So we had, and we had, you know, toured with them a little bit. They had the shows as a guest artist.
Okay.
And, you know, we had even in Charlotte a couple of times performed, you know, at the, what they called Music Factory, you know, and then some other club or whatever stage was. So it was, it was experience, you know, interesting.
I think that's great, man. You got so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I love different styles of music, you know, to play with different, you know, musicians, and that's just me.
Yeah.
You know, because I can fit in any kind of styles that I like.
Yes.
And improvise, you know, with people and have fun.
That's great, man. All right, so now just as an aside, all of a sudden I'm looking at Facebook today, and on your feed pops up, and you're on a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So, explain this, man. Man. I've got nothing.
Well, I have a big fan of my music. The owner of Stardust Cellars, the winery, is amazing winery now in North Carolina.
Okay.
Wilkesboro, North Carolina. So it's about 1.5 hours from here.
Yeah.
And they just, you know, opened up a couple of years ago. And so they have natural wine, which is very, very good wine, actually.
What do you mean natural wine?
Natural wine, so without any like sulfates or whatever it's called, you like, you know, like adding to wine, you know, like chemicals or whatever. So
Gotcha.
it's all organic kind of thing, you know. And he just, you know, came up with this idea. He said, Vadim, why don't, his name is Nick, and he said, why don't we just have your wine, like a label, you know, it's you're, you know, such a great artist and you should have. I said, all right, well, that's right. But it depends, you know, if you have a good wine. I said, you know, I have to try it first because, you know, people will buy it.
Sure.
It has to be the same standard, you know, of my music playing. It has to match. So, and, you know, I really enjoyed his wine.
Yeah.
It's a great product. And they also do produce meads too.
Okay.
You know, of different kind, all, you know, natural, organic. And I said, yeah, let's do it, man. So they draw this, you know, picture.
Yeah.
And now they sell this wine.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's available online now, so people can purchase it online on website.
Only through them, or can they order through your website?
Oh, they can, you know, people can visit my website and find the information and link there about it and purchase it. My website is vadimkolpakov.com.
Okay.
And yeah, man, that was something interesting for me too to you know try.
I thought it was fantastic, man.
Yeah, to try, you know, and they call it Vadim and 7 Strings, the wine, you know.
Is specific? Is it red? Is it
red wine? Yes,
okay.
Cabernet Sauvignon. Yeah,
Very
Cabernet
good,
Sauvignon.
man.
And the grapes that they get from is Chile.
Okay.
So, and yeah, it's very rich kind of taste, you know.
Had you played at the winery before? Are they just friends, or how did you?
No, I haven't played in his winery, but we are trying to, you know, work on a specific show. You know, we're gonna do there and bring people, you know, from Charlotte and surroundings. So we're gonna do that. But I played in the wineries before, and actually, as a matter of fact, we play a lot in Oregon with the Zingareska project, you know, trio. And, you know, I experienced that, you know, kind of, you know, thing to play at the wineries. It's very interesting. We have shows like, you know, concert actually at the winery. So people come and they, you know, sit down, you know, listen to the show, enjoy the wine, you know, that, you know, the winery produces. So
that's amazing, man. That's amazing.
It's a nice kind of events.
Are you traveling a lot with shows, or are you mostly in
Sometimes,
Charlotte?
yeah, but most of the time now, lately in Charlotte. But we do have some tours, with Zingareska project, and then now I have one more new project,
Right.
with a great guitar player from San Francisco, from California. His name is Nicholas Adams,
Okay.
and he is also of Roma heritage and fourth generation, of guitar players or musicians in his family.
It doesn't sound very Romany.
Yeah, right.
Tell him he's got to change his name.
He's an American. Yes. He's an American. He was born here.
Yeah.
And fourth generation of, locals, I would say,
yes.
American. So, but we got a good project. He plays 6-string guitar.
Okay.
He does, gypsy music and all kind of music. Actually, he plays electric guitar too very well. And we present same company, Cremona company,
Yeah.
Cremona Guitars.
Yeah.
It's also on my website, by the way.
Okay.
And just 6 and 7-string guitar, kind of, mix.
Yeah.
Mix.
So when you're traveling, are most of your shows? Do you stay in the States? Do you travel abroad?
Sometimes
Yeah.
abroad, yeah. Sometimes for even like private events,
Wow.
I can fly over, if somebody can afford.
Yeah.
So we fly over, and I play in Florida a lot. So we have, some actually private events in Florida
Okay.
this month, and then New Year's Eve in Miami. So yeah.
Mostly, I would say, up and down the East Coast region, mostly?
East Coast, West Coast. In San Francisco, we're going to have this couple of shows in December.
Sure.
So I go to Oregon a lot, which is West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So depends just,
That's great, man.
whatever we can, hook
How
up.
many shows you averaging a year? Do you know off the top of your head?
I never
Never counted?
Yeah. Well, not every day, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe half of the year, you play. You record, you play.
Yeah.
Just teach. I teach guitar too.
So is the bulk of your stuff, is it the shows you're doing? Is it solo, duo, or is it
Well, back to the
ensemble?
projects, yeah. So I do play solo. Most of it, it's local in North Carolina.
Yeah.
But for projects that I have also is Gypsy Soul, that one of the projects that I created in Charlotte.
Okay.
And we put together show at the Blumenthal
Mm-hmm.
Performing Arts. It was amazing show with decorations, digital on the back, stage, and I brought 7 artists from out of state and
Wow.
even out of country. Singer from Russia, from Moscow, accordion player Sergio Popa, who is one of the greatest accordion players in the state in North America, I would say, from Montreal,
Mm-hmm.
Canada. Then my nephew, my wife is a dancer. She's a flamenco and gypsy style dancer.
Wow.
She was involved there, and Indian percussionist from Austin, Texas. So we had different kind of artists that specialize in gypsy music.
Yeah.
And they know what they do, So I brought them all to Charlotte to put together this show. And the show was about history of gypsy music starting from India.
Wow.
So only with 7 people, you can imagine. So it's different. It's not just gypsy music that sound the same. It's all different because of different regions, right?
Sure.
So we try to, get the best tunes and arrange music from different regions and present it in one show and kind of showing the history of that. It's like a play, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It was very successful. We had 2 sold-out shows at the Blumenthal, and then the pandemic started.
Yeah.
COVID, so it was shut down everything. And now I'm trying to get back to it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, any plans to resurrect the show and try
I
to
hope
bring
so.
it across
Yeah,
the
I hope
country?
so. Yes, I hope so. And I'm looking for actually like agent, like somebody, agency or management who will be interested in that particular.
You should run a podcast because every time I'm just going to ask you a question, you give me the answer before I'm asking.
Yeah.
I was going to say, are you doing all this yourself? Do you have management
Yes,
who helps?
I do it home myself. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that must take up, I mean, just everything is DIY as musicians these days. I can't imagine, making phone calls, having to get to know all the people to contact and negotiations and all that.
Yeah,
Man.
it's a lot. And manage the music, the band and everything. Yeah.
Well, that's being a DIY musician these days.
Yeah.
It's we need to do everything.
Unfortunate. Yeah. It should not be that way. Because we cannot just, do everything.
Yeah.
We have to, focus on art and music, what we do. Otherwise, you don't have time for it.
Yeah. You become beholden to the other things that you need to do to keep the career of music going, but you can't do the music because you need to do the promotion and the negotiations and then this and then that. It's crazy. I know I don't even do the stuff that you done, but I mean, just finding local gigs to play. I am sending emails,
all
a couple of times.
Yeah.
Just looking for music. Let's do this. It's
difficult. It's tough. Yeah, I know. We're on the same spot. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy the music scene.
Yep.
But that's what it is today, right?
Yep.
Hey, just out of curiosity, talking about the music scene, how are you with social media? Do you do a lot of social media stuff? Do you have a big presence? I mean, I know we're on Instagram together.
Yeah, right. I don't. I'm not. The best and at all in social media, but I have my SMM manager just recently I hired to kind of do it professionally. So we'll see how that goes, but
it's funny, the more musicians I talk to, and it doesn't matter if they're folks around my age or younger, nobody really knows what to do.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I have no idea how to navigate this.
Right.
And I'm like, are you supposed to put pictures of your breakfast up, like just to post something? Right. And I use it primarily for promotion. Like, here's pictures, here's a gig I'm playing, here's a gig I played.
Right.
That's it. I don't.
Yeah, it's a different world, and I just got into it, and I had hired someone from even overseas, people. And we had Zoom meetings and all that, and they explained it to me. And it's a lot of things to do. Yeah. There's inside of this, platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and all that. So there's so much things.
It's too much to navigate, man.
Oh yeah,
it is too much to navigate.
Oh yeah. So that's why I'm saying we cannot do everything. We have to work with people, that. Professionals in their field, in the music industry.
And one more, another side thing. You mentioned you kind of set it off to the side, but you do guitar lessons.
Yes, I do.
So fill me in. What do you teach from? Do you have a home studio? Do you teach from school?
I have a home studio, and basically I teach 6-string guitar to people that just beginners or intermediate, and also 7-string guitar who specifically want to study with me particular music. This instrument, and it's all over the world. So now we have Zoom, So I have students, from States, from other countries, even from Russia, people because they all know me there. They want to study with. So that's what I do. It's not full time because you cannot just do everything.
Sure.
Yeah, but I have some students, that really interested into music.
But that's just being a musician today. You have to wear a lot of different hats. I know, we spoke earlier. I'm an elementary music teacher.
Yeah.
That's my day hustle. But at night I'm gigging.
Right.
I've taught guitar lessons for years.
Yeah.
I do a podcast. I do a blog. I mean, there's just so much stuff that you do to make up this little career that you have.
Yes.
to keep the hustle, you know? And it's crazy. It's crazy how much stuff we do. And it's like you wish it was the 1970s where a record label said, here's a lot of money, just go record and do your stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Just release CD and, people actually listen to your vinyls or CDs, not anymore.
And go tour, you know?
Yeah.
It is really crazy the amount of stuff that we as musicians need to be involved with.
Yeah, man.
And I keep saying at some point I'm going to do a little roundtable podcast and have 3 or 4 people and we just talk about all the stuff that we have to get involved in to do this kind of thing. Because I don't think the general public really realizes what's involved in just having a music career today.
They don't. Yeah, I mean, usually people don't understand what we have to go through.
Yeah.
Like how much time and what we have to do as a musicians. And how hard it is actually.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. It's a different world today. It really is. I mean, from everything from album sales to performances to
everything is digital now. There's no album sales anymore. Some of the vinyls,
I mean, and along
popular.
along with complaining about the things that we have to do, there's also some beautiful stuff that like you can be hands on with your career. Because there's people. It used to be if you didn't get a record contract, you were gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm in obscurity now. Now I can't do anything. But now, know, you can advertise and do your own thing, and you can stay a local musician or regional musician or tour the world.
Yeah.
And make it work out. So but it's the Wild West, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As I always say.
Yeah.
So Vadim, if we want to get in touch with you and find out all about you and all that you do, where do we go? What do we do?
Well, my website is Vadim. That's my first name, Vadim, and the last name is a little complicated. Kolpakov, Kolpakov. So VadimKolpakov.com.
Awesome.
And my social media, and also Matt, I would like to invite everyone to follow me on the new Instagram page.
Gotcha.
Which is Vadim 7 Strings. That's easy, I think.
Awesome.
Vadim 7 Strings. So
I'll make a link to everything in the show notes.
Yeah,
too.
all information will be there, like as far as my performances, music news on that page, and the Facebook, Vadim Kolpakov.
Awesome.
Of course, YouTube has a lot of videos.
There you go.
There's my channel, Vadim Kolpakov, too, and there's a lot of, great stuff, too.
Well, Vadim, I'm over the moon, man. We finally got together and got to make this happen.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it a long time ago, too.
Yeah, I don't know what time is it now.
So, but it's great to have you on, man, and great to find out and meet you in person.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
All right, mate. Take care. Thanks for listening to the 70th episode of the Queen City Music Podcast, and I hope you'll go back and check out our past episodes. And if you would be so kind as to leave us a review, I'd greatly appreciate it. You can find the QCMP on all your favorite streaming platforms. As always, if you have an idea for an episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our local partners, Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com, Reporting from 20XX at reportingfrom20xx.wordpress.com, Queen City Live at Instagram.com/Queen City Live Music, and Charlotte New Music at charlottenewmusic.org. Until next month, take care and get out there and support your local music scene.